Hello, and welcome to Freethought Forum. Freethought Forum is a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. I am Jonas Holdeman.
And I am Mitra Jafarzadeh. And together we want you to know that if you don't believe in God, you need not be alone. We have each other.
Okay. Right here in East Tennessee, you can find free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them and people curious about living a life free of supernatural beliefs. This is a call-in show. However, we have only one phone line. If you can't get through, we invite you to email questions to us live at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. More on this later. Now, what I mean is we have Larry Rhodes monitoring his computer, so if you send emails, he will pass them through.
Freethought Forum is brought to you by members and friends of the Rationalists of East Tennessee and the Atheist Society of Knoxville. Freethought Forum is broadcast on community television on Tuesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. CTV is available in Knox County, Tennessee on Comcast Cable Channel 12 and Charter Channel 6. Live streaming to the world is available on the CTV website at ctvknox.org.
Today is March 13th, and our show topic is Humanism and Unitarian Universalism.
The Rationalists of East Tennessee is a free thought group that meets weekly in Knoxville, Tennessee. On the first and third Sundays, RET holds discussions with roundtables and presentations by invited speakers in the cafeteria annex at Pellissippi State Community College from 10:30 to 12:30. Visitors are welcome. On the second Sunday, members and friends meet at Barnes & Noble's Booksellers at 8029 Kingston Pike from 4 to 6 in the evening for discussion of the selected book. The April book will be The Fair Society, The Science of Human Nature and the Pursuit of Social Justice by Peter Cornyn. And next Sunday, Howard Box, Minister Emeritus at Oak Ridge Unitarian Universalist Church, will lead a discussion based on Stephen Greenblatt's book, The Swerve, about the Roman philosopher Lucretius' modern ideas we free thinkers should appreciate. On the fourth Sunday, members meet for reflections, a potluck lunch, and group discussion. The next discussion topic is, do dogmatically religious family environments result in child abuse?
The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup, often at a bar or eatery. Sometimes we even do karaoke. Meet us on Tuesdays after the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria at 200 East Jackson in the Old City. And also meet up on Fridays at 5:30 at Agave Azul, 4405 Kingston Pike for happy hour. Come and enjoy rational conversation, good food, and camaraderie. Look for the silver-jacketed copy of Richard Dawkins' book, The God Dilemma, sitting upright on the table. And as Matt Delahunty at Atheist Experience says, everyone is welcome to visit our happy hour for food, drink, and conversation. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't.
This is a call-in show, and we invite and value questions and comments from all our viewers. However, since we also have strong views about today's discussion and want to stay on topic, we ask viewers calling in to give their questions and comments to our telephone screener, who will pass them on to us. We promise to address as many as we possibly can, and if we have time later in the program, we will accept calls on the air. Call us here at the studio at the number on the screen, 865-215-2288.
If you leave an email address with today's call screener and we do not get to address your question, we will respond by email. You may also email questions, as we said, to Freethought Forum address, freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. During the show or at any time this week, you may also leave voicemail messages at this number, 865-805-8880. Well, again, we want to thank both the Rationalists of East Tennessee and the Atheist Society of Knoxville, who sponsored this program, for having us here today. And we need to see what's happening in the news here.
What is happening?
Oh, oh, you're supposed to tell me.
I'm supposed to tell you what's happening in the news? Okay, let's see. The American Humanist Association will be hosting a pre-Reason Rally reception on Friday night, March 23rd.
Oh, wait. You skipped this part.
I did.
Mitra. The Reason Rally, coming up a week from Saturday, is an event sponsored by many of the country's largest and most influential secular organizations. It will be free for you to attend and will take place in Washington, D.C. on the March 24th, 2002, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the National Mall. There will be music, comedy, speakers, and so much more. We hope you can join us there.
I guess that would explain why the night before would be the pre-Reason Rally and reception.
Yeah, there will be events, but go ahead.
Yeah. The pre-Reason Rally reception on Friday night, March 23rd, is a chance to meet leaders and staff of AHA and the Washington area secular humanists, create posters and buttons for the rally, and meet other attendees. And you must RSVP for this event, and space is limited, so if you're interested, please contact us soon.
There's also the Black Non-Believers Reason Rally after party starring Graydon Square, with 3 albums to his credit: the Compton Effect, the CPT Theorem, and the Kardashev Scale. Graydon Square has established himself as a premier figure in the Freethought community. Some of his noted singles include The Stockholm Syndrome, Brains, Extend, and Myth. His 4th project, entitled Type 2, the Mandelbrot Set, wow, that's big mathematics, is scheduled for release later in 2002. So please join us at the Reason Rally for this event. Advance donations are $20 at the door. More information can be found. You can go, just search Reason Rally on the internet, and you will get links to all of these activities. There's also the Freedom from Religion Foundation will be holding several events: a pre-Reason Rally dinner party and a post-Reason Rally dinner gala. The Secular Coalition for America is having a lobby day of reason, March 23rd, the day before the rally. By joining us for this exciting event, you will be trained in the basics of lobbying and on the specific topics on which the Secular Coalition of America is currently lobbying. In-person lobbying from constituents is the single most effective method for reaching and influencing elected officials. A word on this Secular Coalition for America. It's an organization of organizations, and it serves as a focal point for lobbying on free thought issues and freedom from religion and so on. So that's why the interest on the lobbying. Would you tell us about the American Atheists?
The American Atheists will host a pre-rally fundraiser dinner Friday night at 7 p.m. at the Bethesda North Marriott. Wine and dine with Richard Dawkins, P.Z. Meyer, Tasmia Nasreen, Greta Christina, and Christina Rad, and many others. It's $200 per person, and more than half of that will be tax deductible. The seating is limited, and the event will sell out. So for our friends in the D.C. area, this sounds like a good opportunity.
Oh, let's see, then there's Rock Beyond Relief, a free event for foxhole atheists stationed at Fort Bragg and atheists in the surrounding area. This will take place on Saturday, March 31st from 12 to 8 p.m. At the main post parade field on Fort Bragg, North Carolina. There, so many say that there are no atheists in foxholes, but this group tends to contest that. And in fact, there is a association of military atheists, a couple of them, and in fact, there are atheist chaplains in the military. Not representative of the number, but yet there are some. We also have the birthday coming up of P.Z. Meyer, who was born on March 9th, 1957. He's an American biology professor at the University of Minnesota at Morris, and author of Pharyngula, the science blog. He's a public critic of intelligent design and the creationist movement in general, and is an activist in the American creation evolution controversy. Additionally, P.Z. Myers was recipient of the Humanist of the Year Award in 2009 and the International Humanist Award in 2011. He was raised a Lutheran, and prior to his confirmation, Myers said, "I started thinking, you know, I don't believe a word of this. Now I'm an atheist." Myers comments widely on his blog about science, education, atheism, and religion. He is expected to be attending that event. Okay, tell us about this. This is something I saw on the internet today about the...
the Associated Press reports on a claim by former JPL technician David Coopage that he was let go because of his belief in intelligent design. They report, quote, "A computer specialist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is going to court over allegations that he was wrongfully terminated because of his belief in intelligent design." Coopage says he believes other things also led to his demotion, including his support for the state ballot measure that sought to define marriage as limited to heterosexual couples, and his request to rename the annual holiday party a Christmas party. That's the end of the quote.
Now, he doesn't mention that he had been harassing fellow employees. He was a manager, which is a real problem there, abuse of authority. Basically trying to promote his ideas of intelligent design, and he had been sanctioned for complaints by employees that he had been harassing them with his message, and generally difficulty in getting along with others. So there's another side to this story, but I think it's interesting and perhaps something we need to track in the future.
Well, as we said earlier, I know that feelings run high around these questions and these issues. And when feelings run high, it's important that we treat each other with respect, that we listen with care, and that we respond with gentleness wherever possible. And that way we can keep dialogue open and hope to learn from each other and build up the greater good without going to court.
Yeah, at least one thinks that this is something that just happens in California. I'll call your attention to a letter to the editor by a member of your congregation, Nathan Schulman, who reported his experience with religious kind of harassment when he was working at Y12. I'd be interested to see if there are others with that kind of experience. I did work for a short time in a very secure area, and I had that uncomfortable feeling that I wasn't one of the groups talking about their church experience. Okay, now on with the program.
All right, let's get down to business with introductions. Jonas is a board member of the Rationalists of East Tennessee. He is director of Camp Quest, the Smoky Mountains, which is a humanist summer camp for children of humanists, atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and non-believers, or whatever you call whatever they want to call themselves. That said, Camp Quest is open to all children, regardless of beliefs, and it provides their parents provided their parents understand the humanist principles under which the camp is conducted. Camp Quest of the Smoky Mountains is held each summer at the Great Smoky Mountains National Parks right here in East Tennessee. He's a retired physicist and a founding member of my congregation.
Your congregation?
My congregation.
Well,
isn't it nice to have a minister here?
Mitra is an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister and educator. She's a minister of the West Side Unitarian Universalist Church in West Knox County and has taught, I think it was world religions at Pellissippi State Community College. She is active with Interfaith Ministries in the Knoxville area and has promoted many supportive activities within her congregation. She is married to Greg Franseth and is a mother of 2 children, but like many women, uses her maiden name. Intelligent, thoughtful, compassionate. Mitra is one of my favorite people.
Gosh, Jonas, you're going to make me blush. Thank you.
Okay, for the past 50 years, I've been associated with UUs, and over time, a member of several UU congregations. I took the easy road and presented myself as an agnostic. Then I discovered the Rationalists of East Tennessee, and before long found myself director of Camp Quest of the Smoky Mountains. My first summer at Camp Quest, I fell in love with the children and felt great compassion for them from the stories they told of harassment from their peers and others for expressing their developing beliefs. Many times parents of campers express their appreciation for the opportunity to show their children that there were others like themselves. Coming out of the closet, emerging as a I'm going to be in trouble today.
You are going to be in trouble, that's right.
As a secular humanist, I began to recognize that there's something wrong. There were all these people with secular beliefs who had a chance to improve their lives and those of others around them, but they just weren't working together. Locally, there's the Atheist Society of Knoxville, which seems to appeal to younger, socially minded non-believers, and the Rationalists of East Tennessee, which appeals more to older, intellectually minded non-believers. But I wondered, what about those non-believers with children? RET has tried to have a program for children of members, but it has not shown lasting success. I think the number of members is too small, but there's a precedent in gathering together at the North Texas Church of Freethought in Irving, Texas. North Texas Church of Freethought. They state their aim is to offer atheists, agnostics, secular humanists, and freethinkers all the educational, inspirational, and social and emotional benefits of traditional faith-based churches by preaching free thought, a rational approach to religious questions of life, love, meaning, and happiness. But since there is not here, is there another way? Enter UU congregations. These creedless congregations exhibit an incredible diversity, so diverse as to provide substance for Garrison Keillor's lighthearted jokes about UUs. If any of you have listened to Garrison Keillor, he's always talking about Lutherans and Unitarians. And they teach, and the UUs teach their children about religion, not to be religious. Many UU congregations have significant non-theistic components so that atheists can find like-minded members. Indeed, I've heard it said that many UUs are really atheists with children. Mitra has been on Freethought Forum before, and I invited her to return today to discuss Unitarian Universalism as a potential home for non-believers seeking a greater sense of community for themselves and for their children. The views expressed are our own, and we don't pretend to represent everyone in our diverse communities. Mitra, tell us a little about how Unitarian Universalism came about.
All right. I'll do that, but first I do feel somewhat compelled to tell you that for myself, what I say is I believe in God on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and alternate weekends. And I know that sounds a little bit flip, but behind that is a deep humility of my place in the universe is very, very small. and my ability to navigate depends on my ability to be in relationship and communicate with other people. In my tradition, in Unitarian Universalism, those other people, that community, includes everyone from Trinitarian Christians to absolute atheists who will not use the God word at all, lest it be misunderstood as a confession of faith. And so within that range, there has to be a place and a way to have conversation. And if not to have conversation, then to work together side by side in a way that embodies our shared ethics and values to bring about a better world, a kinder, gentler world with less suffering. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, indeed. I think to be able to discuss an issue with anyone, you must understand both sides of the arguments, not only your personal views, but where the other person might be coming from. And I think this is a great confession that you are that you are kind of out of the closet, so to speak, but in a way to help those around you.
Yeah, well, Unitarian and Universalism, and the classic definitions of the terms, come out of the Christian tradition. Unitarianism being an absolute conviction that God is one and separate from the person of Jesus Christ, or Jesus, that Jesus is a human being who might be specially touched by God or in a special relationship with God, but that Jesus is not at all divine. That moves forward through time in a way that is not repressible. Unitarianism, as a classic theology, was declared heretical in 325 at the Council of Nicaea, but we see it springing up time and time again throughout history because there is a great, I would say, a great truth there, or at least there is a great possibility in a poetic that says that here is a great leader and a great man who is an embodiment of goodness without having to be supernatural. That opens up the way for us to be empowered to seek our own goodness and to encourage others to goodness without being reliant on the intervention of external deity. And there's tremendous power in that for human beings. Of course, we know there's a lot of hardship in the world, so we know we're not there in terms of our ability to perfect ourselves in the world. The Universalist side says that eventually, again, in classic Christian theology, universalism means that all will eventually be reconciled to God, or that God will extend universal salvation. Another way to put it is that God's mercy outweighs God's justice. So it's not a matter of no punishment for the classic Christian universalist. It's a matter that God will eventually bring everything into God's presence, and there will be a wholeness and completeness in that final time. Universalism, moving forward through time and history, eventually, by the 19th century, has adopted a Unitarian perspective on Christology. But they also have opened up and said that Universalism, by the nature of its name, must be open to including other religious traditions. So there is a constant broadening of both Unitarianism and Universalism that brings us to today. We're not an anything goes faith or tradition. I'm very much opposed to that idea. We have strong ethics and strong values, but it's hard work to be a Unitarian Universalist because we're not going to say you must believe X, Y, and Z. Rather, we're going to say you have to do the hard work of finding your way, and we invite you to do it in the company of others. A friend of mine used to say there's no truth emerges except in dialogue, and I'm inclined to think he's right. So you have to find your way, clarify your beliefs, your ethics, your values, your theology or philosophy for living, and then you're expected to live up to it. So what you say you believe, we expect you to believe, to live with integrity and that depth of character that's not limited to atheists or Christians or Buddhists. It is a human quality that everybody who enters into the search for truth can embrace. So that's a little bit about how Unitarianism and Universalism came to be. I don't know if I left anything out there, Jonas. So.
Okay. Well, we could get into, there have been many prominent Unitarian Universalists, yes. And that is a story in itself, and yes. Perhaps we'll find some time for that. But the big thing, the difficulty to manage is diversity in congregations. Mm-hmm. I like to refer to these as UU congregations because the idea of a church turns off yes. so many people, and really it's the people that make mm-hmm. up that particular community. So what you've already alluded to this. What kind of diversity do we have? Do we see in the congregations?
Unitarian Universalism across the whole span embraces Christians. There are entire churches, entire congregations that are still very closely tied to the Christian and Jewish roots. The whole tradition is highly influenced by Buddhism and by paganism. The humanist movement in the early part of the 19th century or 20th century had a large well, I won't say it had a large impact on Unitarians. I'll say that Unitarians had a large impact on the humanist movement. There was a Humanist Manifesto in 1933, and about half the signers were Unitarian ministers, and one Universalist, I think. So it is a very diverse group. Even in my small congregation, there are a great variety of people. I know that vocabulary trips us up. I know what you said about church and congregation. It's a mistake to think that words don't have meaning, but it's also a mistake to let the semantics of community get in the way of making those human connections. So if you can find a way to assume the best of the person you're talking to and to try to, like you were saying earlier, try to see from their perspective, words like church or even God or ritual or worship, any of those words that are slightly scary to some folks, can be reconciled with work. Yeah. And for the diversity, one of the things I think is that what we say we believe, what we think we believe, and what we feel we believe, all must be manifest in the way we live our lives and the work of our hands and our heart. Otherwise, it is too abstract. So with the question of diversity, the best way to work with a diverse congregation is to engage actively in service. I have a question that I can't read.
Let's see what it says here. What are your personal beliefs versus what are your personal beliefs? I think you've already.
I think that might cover a lot of what I personally believe.
Okay, wait. Let's see if we can get this clarified right here.
Okay.
Now I need to press the right button. The wrong one really shuts us down. Okay. Caller, welcome to Freethought Forum. Would you please give us a name?
Brian.
Beg your pardon?
Brian.
Brian, okay. So that's Brian.
Yes.
Okay, tell us briefly what your question or point is.
I was just asking Mitra, do you personally believe that Christ existed?
Christ is a tricky word because
I mean the Christ of the Bible, Jesus Christ.
Okay, that's the question. Do you believe, or can you believe, that Jesus existed? See, Christ attaches a theological title that we might be unwilling to accept, but right. We can talk about Jesus.
I can go for a historical Jesus very easily. As a wise man and a good teacher, As far as if I want to get into a theological mindset and do that work, I'm very happy to, but ultimately what I reject in that construction of classic Christianity, what I reject in that is the idea that God's love might be limited or only accessible to a few. I believe deeply that it's the nature of creator to love creation. So if we could enter into a poetic where there is a creator of any sort, and this is a poetic, not a factual scientific statement, but a narrative that speaks to deeper or broader truths. So if we can enter into a poetic that says that there is a creator, then it must be the nature of the creator to love creation. And I am not willing to put a hedge around that and say that the creator loves some of creation, but the rest of it, not so much. It's just that I can't do that.
Do you believe the Bible says that he only chooses who he loves?
I think that there's lots of theology out there, and that's where, when we talked about the split between Unitarians and Trinitarians and the Council of Nicaea in 325, it's a conversation that's been going on for a long time. We aren't going to arrive at the truth with a period tonight. But if you're asking what I believe...
But so your church, is your church just a bunch of people congregating in search of a truth? Or in search of the truth?
Well, what I would say about that, and what I tell my congregation actually every year, is that I want us to have deep faith hinged to deep humility. My deep faith is that we are all beloved children of the universe. Again, that's a poetic.
Yeah.
But I hinge that to deep humility because I don't have the ultimate answer, and I would not be so daring as to say I have arrived and I know what it's about. But I'm enjoying the conversation and I'm enjoying the search.
But
so what about you, sir? What's your personal belief?
I guess as I commented that for 50 years I called myself an agnostic, even though I knew I wasn't. I mean, it's a safe thing to do. Atheists are so scorned and everything that you really have to have a strong character to stand out there and call yourself an atheist. But beyond that, atheism is a statement of what you do not believe, but not what your principles by which you live are. And so I prefer to call myself a humanist, that is, an atheist with principles. Now, my background is in science, and I believe in the natural world, and everything I believe, I am convinced that everything we can understand can be understood in terms of the natural world. And that
do humanists just draw their principles from philosophy, or like all philosophy, including Christian philosophy, or just specific philosophy?
The Christians have a lot to teach, and it would be a mistake, I think, to line them out and keep them out of the conversation.
But see, the position of a person who doesn't believe in any supernatural must be that we see religion being practiced, and we see moral values, although they vary from society to society. And but what I reject is that these...
Okay, I don't mean to cut you off, but do you think religion is more of a morality standpoint, or do you think it's more of a spiritual standpoint? Like, people experience stuff that's unexplainable, that even science cannot explain, and that people become religious and deeply in faith because they experience something that science themselves, like scientists, cannot explain, or like a doctor or someone comes back to life, and so they can't explain it because their medicines or their surgery wasn't expected. Something that is cured from cancer, they said you only have 6 months to live, and that person becomes like in deep in faith because they actually lived for another 20 years and they died a normal death because they basically beat cancer in a sense. I mean, Do you think people use religion as a morality standpoint, or do you think they use it as a spiritual standpoint in order to believe?
Well, there are two aspects. There's the morality aspect, which I think we can separate, from pure religion. That is, something within a society, certain things that are maybe deemed moral if they work. If you go around killing people, well, that doesn't work very well. So we have moral restrictions against killing people. Now, when you get into the spiritual area, well, certainly there are times that we can experience a sense of awe,
Yeah.
A sense of being in a special place or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But these are all states of the mind, states of the brain, and they can be induced in various ways. Just by seeing something or hearing something that is very beautiful or fulfilling. But at the same time, the same kind of feelings can be induced by, there's a tradition of the shamans and the people who go on vision quests, go out into the desert and suffer. They deprive themselves of food and water and so on, and perhaps reach a situation of hallucination, if you wish. But that it can also be produced by peyote. They're the Native American cultures that use that
chemically induced. But
yeah.
What about stuff like? Do you believe like soul or anything, or a spirit, or even a separate part of the body, an entity that's within our body? Like, our souls are saved as in Christians, or like, especially like people that have chakra that like shoot out energy and stuff like that. Do you believe in stuff like that, or even like maybe even think that it's a possibility, or do you just totally just cross it off the list and say it's not possible, not happening, never will exist type attitude?
What I would say from the perspective of myself as a Unitarian Universalist minister, if you come to me and tell me that you've had this experience and you tell me that it's an experience of God, I am not going to question you or doubt you at all. You have a right to define that experience for yourself.
I guess the problem I find with Christianity, and I'm a Christian myself, and I just see this every single day, and I can see why people kind of shy away from religion altogether, especially from Christian standpoint, is because a lot of Christians, they like to degrade other people's religion and other people's beliefs. And yeah, granted, in the Bible, God himself says that these religions are pagan and that you shouldn't, live with them or, I guess frequent with them. But then Christ, on the other hand, comes in and he sits down with drunkards and he talks to them. It's like he didn't actually degrade anybody of their belief. He just spoke of what his belief was and what he perceived, I guess, reality as. I mean, he considers himself Messiah, or people considered him the Messiah, and I guess he just kind of took it with it. And I guess the problem with Christianity to me is people are using the moral standpoint when, I mean, they shouldn't say that they're the holders of morality, that, God is the holder of morality, and Christ is the one that kind of makes it all whole. But in a sense, like, if I meet a Muslim, a lot of Christians come out, I know a lot of Christians, especially with Islam, a lot of Christians come out and say, Islam, they're evil, they're all psychos, they're all terrorists. But at the same time, you got to understand the culture that they grew up in, that they truly believe what they believe. And if you just sit there and say you're evil and you're Satan worshiper, they're automatically going to reject your belief because they already have it in their head that you're considering me wrong and you're right. And I mean, you can't approach people like that.
All right, so Brian,
on that extent of you're wrong and I'm right, because usually people don't want to be wrong. People don't like being wrong, so they automatically get defensive.
Yeah.
I guess.
Brian, if I may, what I think is brilliant about what you're saying is that you're bringing your own rationality and your own mind and your own experience to the reading of the biblical text and to your experience of humanity. So it seems to me like you're not taking anything on face value, but you're going back and looking at the source material, and you're considering cultural implications, and you're doing the good work of asking good questions. And to my way of thinking, that is honorable. That is maybe the best we can do. And it's not easy, maybe it's not easy, but it honors our human capacity to think through, and that's worth something.
Brian, you mentioned the subject of spirits, and I think there's it's kind of my views on this are that ancient peoples weren't stupid, but they were somewhat scientifically minded in the sense that they looked for theories that explained the things that they saw around them. Mm-hmm. Now, if you see a being that's animal, person, or whatever, that's alive at one moment and dead the next moment, the bodies all look the same. So how do you explain the concept of life and non-life in simple terms? Well, I think what they did was to say there must be a spirit, something else in the body that moves it, and so on. And well, you can see this same theory among the Australian Aboriginals. Look on Wikipedia, the dream time and so on. There's a very fascinating article there. So I think the spirit was something that enlivened organic and bodies, so that and motivated them, made them motive and moving. And then this concept, I think, got pushed a little too far into spiritual and soul, and the idea that the spirit may survive after the body. But anyway, thank you for calling, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
We really appreciate your comments, and you have a good day. So
Yes.
we've blown right past the break, and
Have we?
Somewhere in my notes here I have some notes. Oh, good, very good. Well, till I find mine. Okay. In case you're just tuning in, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Freethought Forum is funded jointly by them and by individual contributions. Shows are live most every Tuesday from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern on community access television. We can also be seen streaming online for fans outside the Knoxville area. Go to ctvknox.org, ctvknox.org, and you'll find us.
You can also send us feedback at the email address on your screen, which is freethoughtforum@yahoo.com. But don't wait, this is a call-in show, and we are live today, and viewers can call in now to the phone number on the screen.
And, oh, okay, the spring season will soon be upon us. The need for blood knows no season. We're thankful to have the Medic Regional Blood Center in our community.
We would like to encourage our members to donate and help the community. You can find locations and times for donation by calling Medic at 865-524-3074, and you can donate at their headquarters 7 days a week, located at 1601 Ayler Avenue. They are open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and Sunday, 1 to 4:30, except on some holidays. They actually also have a location out in Farragut. I was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll ask you about that in just a moment.
Okay, good.
Okay, both Forrest and I are great supporters of Medic, and I donate platelets regularly each month, And the center in Farragut is set up to handle platelet donations and maybe plasma, but they don't regularly do whole blood. But they also serve another purpose. Recently, you went there, and tell us why you went.
Well, I went twice, actually. I went the first time, because I got to tell you, folks, I'm absolutely petrified of needles in all ways. So I went the first time to be tested for a bone marrow donor. And that's a very easy thing to do. I did it, and if I did it, anybody can do it. Now, you are making a promise. You are making a promise that if you come back, that you are a match with somebody, that you will follow through on that. They are not going to hold you to it. You can back out, but you should have a clear mind and a clear heart before you go forward and go in to have the sample taken. It's just a cheek swab, and they are able to use that to see if you're a match with somebody who needs it. And then I went back and gave blood.
Okay,
yes.
This is, I didn't know that.
I did.
But I can hardly wait to have you continue. But now Medic is just the collection place
right.
where you drop in, and they will
fill out the paperwork, which takes longer than anything else.
And then they pass the information along to a national.
Yes, I think it's called BeTheMatch .org if you want to go look for that. Yes, I went to give blood. I know this is slightly off topic, but really it's not. I went to give blood, and I told you I'm really not good with needles. I actually had to have a congregant come and hold my hand to get through the process. I am proud to say I did not pass out while I was there. But here's the thing. All this religion stuff, all the question about churches or congregations or Jesus or Christ or any of this stuff, it's all a privilege that we have to speak about such things. And it's a privilege because we are human beings. Our shared humanity is written as deep as our blood and deeper still in our bone marrow. For me, going to give blood or going to be tested for bone marrow match is a matter of faith, or maybe just hope, that I can be of assistance to my fellow human beings. The reason it is important to me is because it is an affirmation that we are united as one, and that transcends all beliefs and everything else. I feel like they should pay me for doing an ad for them.
Okay. So the Rationalists of East Tennessee, we'll wrap this up for just a moment.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. The Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, meets several times during the week, as we told you about at the opening. We have evening meetups for fun, food, and drink, including one at Barley's right after the show. ASK's purpose is to supply a venue for community, camaraderie, and outreach to atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and other like-minded persons in East Tennessee. Visit the ASK website on the screen to learn more about us.
The Rationalists of East Tennessee has Sunday activities involving lively presentations and discussions of subjects topical and timeless. Both the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee help provide a social outlet where you'll find that if you don't believe in God, you are not alone.
Okay. Now, as I said, I'm interested in offering information about a community for those non-theists or freethinkers,
yes.
or people of non-belief, where they can help. They will find help with the education of their children. I hope we'll be able to get to that, and a place for support. Many of you remember Steve from Sevierville, who's called in a number of times. He has medical problems and really no support in his community. But this is the kind of thing that a community organization such a congregation can support. Let's see, and what I want to point out is that we can give examples of the closeness of the UU congregations to the Freethought community. On the board of directors of the Rationalists of East Tennessee, there are 2 members of your congregation,
Yes.
me
Yourself.
and one other.
Yes.
And there are quite a few others who are members of both organizations and split their time. Jill Barnhart, the frequently appearing on here, you may not know it, but Jill Barnhart is an ordained Baptist minister.
I
But
think you just outed him, Jonas.
huh?
No, it's okay.
Oh,
He's a very learned man. And,
yes, and he is also a member of the Rationalists of East Tennessee,
Yes.
and
yes.
so in any event, we already have a lot of cooperation.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that others who have not yet found a home within ASK or RET will
Yeah, you're absolutely invited to come out to not only Westside Unitarian Universalist Church, but find a church near you wherever you are. And you know, the thing about church is a very good point. Some UU communities go by congregations or fellowships because of the word church. So you are, if you're interested, you can go to uua.org and look. There's a place where you can look for a congregation near you. But I want to say something about religious education or faith formation for our children and youth and even our adults. And that is that I strongly feel like the foundation of what we offer our kids is a respect for them as human beings. I have 2 kids, a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. And they come with all this curiosity and all this wonderment. It's not our job to impose doctrine on that and say, thou shalt believe this and this and this. It's our job to meet them where they are and nurture them, expose them to a variety of experiences of world religions, teach them the basics, but really empower them to listen to their own conscience, to form them themselves in community by asking the good questions, and to live a life that has integrity and ethical grounding. My daughter is not one who believes in God, and I'm fine with that. My son is 6 years old, and I don't know where he is, but he's probably going to be in a different place than she is, just because they have different personalities. So I'm not sure what else to say about our religious education program. Across the board, all UU churches that I've ever seen or been a part of do contain the same respect for the life of the child, for their inner spark, and for their ability to think through problems and big questions. And that's what we try to nurture.
Okay, we do have a caller waiting. Thank you for waiting, caller. Let me put you on. Thank you for waiting, and could I have your name or a nickname?
My name is Jason.
I beg your pardon?
My name is Jason.
Jason. Oh, that's just what an anagram of my name, Jonas.
There you go.
Hey. Thank you for calling, Jason. And what can we do for you today?
Well, I mean, I just had a question that kind of relates to creationism versus evolution. I'm a Christian myself. I have Christian beliefs, kind of unorthodox, but I believe in Christ and his teachings. But my question kind of relates to something that's scientific fact. DNA can only exist in its form as it exists. It can never evolve in steps the way evolution describes. So my question to you, as an atheist, obviously you believe in evolution. How do you explain that?
I think your assumption that it can't be explained is incorrect. We don't know all of the answers yet, but we have a very good theory of how all of life evolved and how it's interrelated that explains many, many things. If you go to the doctor and receive some medical treatment, probably that was developed by researchers and medical people who accepted this idea of evolution and that
yeah, but I mean,
how we are all related.
Just because someone accepts an idea that's, intelligent, that doesn't make it correct. Okay, my point is, in a primordial soup, supposedly, everything was supposed to come together by chance and create this amazingly complex structure of DNA. And I've researched this. I'm not highly educated, but I've looked into this, and there is really no theory that explains it. Basically, one scientist said it would be like a tornado flying through a junkyard and accidentally assembling a fully functional 747. That would really be basically the chances of DNA being created out of a primordial soup.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you for calling. I will continue to address your question here.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think this is a bad kind of analogy because these kind of things do happen. And after all, you have almost 14 billion years for all of these things to come together.
Well, it's again, I want to get back to this idea. There is the poetic, and then there's the scientific. And what belongs to the realm of the poetic, the religious, the great creation stories, the beautiful, meaningful stories that we tell, it belongs to that realm, and what belongs to the scientific belongs to the scientific. So I cannot answer, I am not equipped to answer the question about DNA, and I will never be equipped to answer the question about DNA because it's not what I do. But I do believe that the people who can do that will do it. Or my daughter, when she was about 8 years old, saw a picture from the Creation Museum of a human being riding a triceratops, and she burst out laughing. And I said, "Why is that funny?" And she said, "Because Adam and Eve belong in the Bible and dinosaurs belong in science." And she thought it was just the most delightfully incongruous thing that she had seen. That's her way of saying as a kid. As a grown-up, I would say, don't give up the myths. Don't give up the beautiful poetry, the culturally bound traditions. If that gives you joy and meaning, great. But don't impose it on science. And if you don't need the great stories and the great religions, that's fine too. If science gives your life shape and meaning, and that suffices, then good for you. And I would love nothing more than to be in mutual conversation across those divides.
Okay, but the point of this is to try to get some information
Yes.
available as a third alternative to our other organizations. UU congregations are really spread out. There's 4 in Knoxville and 2
Yes.
in Nashville, 1 in Chattanooga,
Yes.
1 in Johnson City, and a fellowship in Crossville. But the great vast area of East Tennessee is uncharted. Okay, we need to close.
Yes. It's time to start wrapping things up.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us, Mitra. Listeners might want to write down the information about how to contact us. This has been Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Our producer is Larry Rhodes, technical assistance from Sam Goltz. Sorry if I blew that, Sam. Freethought Forest, and our telephone screener today has been Danielle. Thank you again for being with us, and please come back.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.